A penguin, a panda, a pigeon, and a pirate walk into a bar. Google was once simple, and the web was like the Wild West. Whoever drew fastest would ultimately emerge victorious. But there was an obvious problem with this, because it meant that anyone could get to the top of Google without there being any real necessity to create a high-quality website. You could write the lowest quality content in misspelled, broken English, and you could cover it in spammy ads. But as long as you had lots of keywords and lots of links, you'd still come out on top in the results. That meant that people who used Google would end up getting burned because they'd click on low-quality results. And if that carried on, Google would risk losing customers. If every time you searched Google, you found websites that were trying to steal your credit card information, you would probably eventually stop trusting Google. It got so bad that people even started using article spinners. These were tools designed to copy other people's content, replace all the words with synonyms, and then publish it. The result was an unreadable jumbled mess, but it was enough to crack the system. Remember, Google is just like any other website owner. Their customer is the advertiser, and therefore the visitor. They have no loyalty to the website owners, and they are under no obligation to ensure that you keep getting traffic. So, Google evolved. Google changed its algorithms to become more sensitive and smarter. Now, if Google detects attempts to game the system, it can penalize content that was designed to trick Google, and that wasn't offering any quality in return, and it could ensure that only the best quality got to the top. Google's algorithms rolled out, each with a different name, and each of which would shake up the market in a huge way. For example, all Google's updates and what they mean for a good SEO strategy. Panda. Panda was the first big algorithm update to launch, and this was designed to penalize all those sites that had plagiarized their content, that had used spam, or that had used keyword stuffing. Keyword stuffing is when you try to get Google to rank your site for a certain keyword and you go way overboard in inserting the keyword into your text to the point where it becomes unreadable. Welcome to this Buy Hats Online website. Looking to buy hats online? Buy hats online here. It sounds funny, but people were really doing this. All those sites that were guilty of so brazenly manipulating Google's algorithms were punished, sent right down to the bottom of the SERPs, search engine results pages. This actually destroyed some businesses, and many people were very angry at Google as a result. But in Google's defense, it had always told site owners to write for the user and not to write for Google. Penguin. Penguin targeted spammy techniques focused around links. All those sites that had created hundreds of thousands of links on low-quality sites were penalized. Fortunately, Google also presented a links disavow tool that site owners could use to disassociate themselves with low-quality links. Google emphasized the importance of quality links over quantities of links. In other words, if you get a link from the BBC, then it will be worth infinitely more than 1,000 links from e-zine articles, simply because anyone can get links from e-zine articles, and a link from the BBC is a genuinely impressive testimony. The best way to think of this now is as a game of degrees of separation. Certain sites have much more clout than others. A site with an .edu domain or a .gov will have a lot of authority and trust to begin with. Likewise, sites that come up in Google's news section also must carry a lot of influence. If you can get a link from one of those sites, then this could change your fortunes overnight. But failing that, you can try getting a link from a site that has a link from one of those sites. Failing that, get a link from a site that has a link from a site that has a link from a site that has lots of authority and trust. In other words, get as close to the most influential brands in your niche as possible to reap the major rewards. Pirate. Pirate focused on stolen content and copyright breaches. About time, too. In 2017, another update called Fred reinforced this by penalizing sites that were violating Google's webmaster guidelines. Affected sites were typically low-quality sites designed purely to bring in ad revenue. Pigeon. Pigeon is all about local search, and it basically makes the location that the search is being carried out in even more important. That's why one of the best strategies for a new SEO campaign today is to start local. Start by targeting Buy Hats Online Santa Monica, and only then branch out into other areas and more global searches. Another update in 2016 called Possum doubled down on this, with queries performed closer to a business being more likely to bring that business up as a result. Mobile. The mobile friendliness update was designed to make webmasters create sites that would be optimized for mobile. This meant they should load quickly, use a responsive design that would change shape depending on the size of the screen, use touch-friendly navigation elements. Speed optimizations became especially important, in fact. And this is something that Google is really pushing for right at the moment. It wants to ensure that users have the best possible experience from start to finish. So, if your site is filled with unnecessary plugins that just slow things down, then you should remove them. Google actually offers a site speed test and a mobile friendliness test, both of which can be run very easily through the browser. Test both these on your site to ensure that your page meets the new requirements, and you can avoid being penalized for not catering to what is now a significantly large portion of the overall audience. AMP. Another thing to look into if you really want to get into Google's good books is AMP. This stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages, and is a new initiative from Google that is designed to encourage creators to create a second, highly mobilized, super quick version of their site. This is possible to achieve through a single plugin if you use WordPress, and once that is in place, your site will be able to appear at the top of the other search results with an image from your site and an AMP logo to encourage more users to click it. RankBrain. RankBrain was introduced in 2015 to help Google better match the intent of a query rather than looking for precise keyword matches. It is not so much an algorithm change as it is a specific tool that Google uses and that relies on machine learning in order to properly understand the content of websites and the precise meaning of search terms. Between this and Panda, keywords became far less straightforward. They're still important, yes, but now so too is using synonyms for those keywords, natural language surrounding the keyword, and using the exact key phrases subtly. Today, the most common advice is to use keywords with a density of around 1 to 2%. That means 1 or 2 keywords for every 1 to 200 words. I personally recommend going even less. Meanwhile, the use of synonyms and related language is what's known as latent semantic indexing. It's also important to think about the placement of your keywords. A keyword used in the first few sentences, in the header, in the footer, etc., all carry more weight than a typical keyword used anywhere else in the copy. RankBrain is constantly evolving, using huge amounts of data to better understand what users respond well to. And that doesn't just mean keyword use. It also means that you need to offer deeper, more meaningful content. The recommendation among many creators is to aim for content that is anything from 800 to 2,000 words long. This should include links out to other useful sites to act as references. I highly recommend linking out to research and studies if you are writing a scientific piece. And it should include images and charts and bullet points. RankBrain also brings even tighter focus onto UX, user experience. Using its machine learning chops, RankBrain can look around your site as though it were a real person, and it can decide what makes for a good experience and what makes for a bad one. So even if you have great content, RankBrain will penalize you if your site is poorly laid out, or if that content doesn't use a nice readable font with big headers. The new SEO, and everything you need to know to succeed. With all these changes, the face of Google was completely rewritten and altered. The latest version of Google's algorithm is called Hummingbird, but this in fact incorporates all of the above algorithm updates, machine learning tools, and more to form a cohesive whole. Moreover, Hummingbird is different from previous Google algorithm updates because it has the ability to grow, adapt, and evolve on the fly. Now that means that Google can update its index from day to day and change the way it looks at our sites. And that means that anytime we crack the code, it can change again. It means we can't settle into a rhythm thinking that we've figured out how to do SEO because it will change again. So instead, all we can do is to understand what it is that Google wants and to ensure that our goals are aligned with Google's. And what does Google want? As I said earlier in this training, it wants to serve the user. It wants people to find the content that they are looking for. It wants that content to be high quality. And it wants them to have a good experience with it. Because that way, they will have a good experience with Google. And that way, they'll be much more likely to come back for more in the future. So your aim, difficult though it might be, is to try and forget about Google on the whole. You should keep keywords in the back of your mind. Every now and then, try to target a topic that is being searched for but isn't highly competitive. Occasionally, give your headings catchy names. But do not write your content with the main aim of impressing Google. Aim to deliver the best possible experience for your audience. Associate with only the highest quality brands that have a similar ethos and message. Write content that is comprehensive, original, and interesting. Build links on high-quality sites and not in droves. In fact, this is the most important tip for good SEO. Engage in guest posting. Write a post for a high-quality site and offer to swap that for a link back to your page. Use influencer marketing. Collaborate with other creators in your niche. And research the backlinks of your favorite sites so that you can see how they got to where they are. Try to make your content natural, and try to make your links natural. Write content so good that people want to look to it. Optimize, speed up, and improve your website at every opportunity. As long as your site is genuinely good, if it is the best at doing what it does, then your goals are aligned with Google. And that means that every future algorithm update should be more likely to benefit your brand rather than penalize it. It should help you rank higher, not lower. Google's vision of the future. The other thing to think about is Google's vision for the future. This way we can preempt the nature of any future updates and ensure our sites will hold strong. So what does Google's future look like? Well, we know that Google now considers itself to be an AI-first company. We can see this when we look at the kinds of products and services it is prioritizing. Google Search on mobile has evolved to become Google Assistant. Google now wants you to be able to talk naturally to your voice assistant, and for it to answer you with relevant information it has pulled from the web. This explains the importance of RankBrain. People don't search Google Assistant by saying, buy hats online. They search Google Assistant by saying, hey Google, where can I buy some hats? This means that Google now needs to understand not only the words you say to it, but also the meaning behind those words. So, avoid the temptation to focus on distinct keywords and move more towards answering questions, providing services, and filling niches that you see in the market. Remember, Google will only get smarter. So, if things like beautiful, well-composed images don't matter yet, then they will soon. And if Google is only so-so at checking grammar at the moment, it will get better. Read the Associated Press guidelines. Learn how to write using the inverted pyramid style. And seeing as Google Assistant will occasionally bring up a website to show the user on their phone, make sure that your site is well suited to being quickly loaded on a mobile device. You should definitely look into using AMP formatting for your websites if you want to get more traffic to the mobile version of your site. As mentioned, this can be done easily through a single plugin. At the very least, make sure your site is speed optimized and make sure that it is mobile responsive and has an easy UI for touch input. Avoid hover over menus and the like. You should also make sure that you are using Google's markup language for rich snippets. I'll lead you to research the specifics of how this works, but it basically means you're adding some additional HTML code to your site to tell spiders and robots what certain features of your content are. For example, if you are going to provide a recipe with ingredients, then you can use the markup language in order to highlight those ingredients. This is what allows Google to highlight this kind of information, along with review scores and the times of concerts and events. You'll see all this highlighted right on the SERPs, Search Engine Results pages, anytime that you do a search. And of course, this is very important for Google's Assistant's ability to answer you in natural English when you say, what time is a concert tomorrow? Content marketing. SEO is only one tool you can use to promote yourself, however. The other is content marketing. And the two actually go hand in hand perfectly. So, content marketing means that you're adding content to your website to bring more traffic. But this time the aim is to bring repeat traffic from visitors. You are more interested in engagement and loyalty than short-term spikes in numbers. Think about the reasons that you go back to any website. The answer is because it provides consistently high-quality information for you on a regular basis. And therefore, you want to go back and see what will be the latest information. And if you trust and respect the author, then you will go there whenever you have a question on a particular topic. It's great when you find someone you trust or a site that you find entertaining. In other words, then, it is the content that is bringing you back to the site. And that means that it must be well written and unique. Content marketing works like so. You discover a post through social media or Google, read it, and leave. You discover another post another time in the same way. You notice the brand and you think, I quite like this site. It comes up again. You then decide to check it out the next time you have a related question. You then bookmark it and decide to check back regularly. You are now a fan. So, content marketing means writing consistently high quality and engaging content and then sharing it. It means using this process in order to build trust, authority, and relationships with your audience. And this is precisely what you also now need to do for effective SEO. So, it is all starting to come together. How to write great content. This is where so many people will go wrong though, as they simply don't know what it is that makes great content. So many people will decide to get into internet marketing by looking at which niches are most popular or most profitable. Maybe they pick fitness, or they pick dating, or they pick make money online. Never mind that they have no knowledge or interest in that topic. Then they set about either writing or commissioning the most generic posts they can possibly think of on these topics. How to get six-pack abs, 10 best push-up exercises, how to get a big chest, or 10 SEO mistakes you're making, how to get more visitors. They then share this content to social media, and then they wonder why people don't come flocking in. The simple fact of the matter, these articles are dull. People are in a hurry. You are not offering any value. These posts are a dime a dozen. We've seen hundreds of them before in our travels. Would you stop to read a title like that? And this is why I'm going to say something unpleasant to hear. If you don't have a genuine interest in the niche you're in, then there is no point being in that niche. Because in order to offer any value, you need to say new and exciting things. And to do that, you need to understand the topic completely. Instead of saying, how to get six-pack abs, then, you might say how cardio acceleration can help you to burn 900% more fat. That's actually a real thing, and a real statistic, by the way. It's 100 times more interesting than how to get abs. But if you write a post yourself and you're not interested or qualified when it comes to fitness, you won't have the inside knowledge or foresight to write articles like this. And if you hire a writer to write the topic, they'll just find a generic post online and rewrite the post. They aren't experts. And they don't truly care about your brand. They're just trying to get paid. Here are some more pointers to help you write better content. Storytelling is SEO for the human brain. We are naturally inclined to enjoy stories. We like stories because we have been listening to stories around campfires since the very beginning of our evolution. We've evolved listening to them. We also like stories because we can imagine ourselves in the shoes of the person in that story, and that gets us emotionally invested. If you're about to write a dull post, think about how you could restructure it to tell it like a story. We want information quickly. If your page is a dense block of text, then you are going to immediately drive away and lose your visitors. It's highly important that you avoid this by spacing your content out with lots of paragraphs and spacing it with big bold headings. Your heading should technically tell the whole story. Big fonts are equally important here, especially on mobile. If your posts are just walls of text, then people will leave as soon as they land on your page. And this will be devastating because Google is now able to monitor bounce rates and identify when a visitor lands on your site and then very quickly leaves. Images. The images you use to decorate your content are incredibly important, and they can make a huge difference to your bounce rates, to your audience's enjoyment of your content, and much more. An image will immediately communicate the topic of your post, and if it is taken well, then it will help to increase the apparent production value of your site too. A big, beautiful image can convey an emotion and get people really excited to read your content. Plus, you can actually optimize your images for Google Images by using the right dimensions, 16 by 9, the right tags, and the right file names. It's possible to get some pretty great images for free from stock image websites, but you know what? By far the best strategy of all is to take the photos yourself. This way, you can not only create the most stunning and beautiful images, but also ensure that they perfectly fit the topic of your post and back up your points. Instead of being generic and somewhat relevant, the image can become the perfect partner for whatever your post is about. This means investing in a great camera, and it means learning the basics of composition, framing, using manual settings in your camera, etc. But it's definitely worth it. If nothing else, it is worth it because you'll be able to sell this service as an additional arrow in your quiver, and as part of a comprehensive web marketing service. Content development should mean multimedia content development. Use the right headings. Another tip is to make sure that you always use the right headings. That means that you should make sure your articles are sound and as interesting and exciting as possible. It's interesting to look at clickbait as a source of inspiration here. Clickbait titles are the ones you see on social media sites that use cheap strategies to get you to click. These will use fake anticipation and mystery, for instance, to get you interested. What happens next will blow your mind. 5 weird tricks to lose belly fat. Number 3 will blow your mind. The omitted key piece of information sparks curiosity in the viewer, and they click the link. The unfortunate reality is that 9 times out of 10, clickbait offers nothing of value. It is just poor quality content, spam, or even a bunch of ads. Hence the terrible reputation that this approach now has. But you can learn from it. Put the emotional hook of your content right in the title. Keep the USP front and center. And then just make sure you actually deliver on that promise when your readers click through and find your content.